Hello. For today's video I want to show you how I created the holly sprigs in the corner of this card. Let me zoom in on that so you can see what I'm talking about. So these are made with a normal cutting die, well a pair of cutting dies, so that you've got foil around the edges of the die cut. Okay, so, and I've done a few experiments with these. So I've got some white ones there. I need something behind that. There we go. There we go. The camera will focus on it better like that. There we are. So I've used some sparkly foil and just with some white card to make kind of frosted holly. And then I've got various shades of green foil, again on white card. I was just experimenting. Okay, and then for my card I use the same cream card that I'd use for the card base, so it kind of ties it all in together. So I've used rose gold foil and used a rose gold foil to die cut my chain, and I've foiled my sentiment in rose gold, so it kind of keeps the colour scheme going. Okay, put them back. There we go. Right, so this is a new die set that only got it this week, and it's from John Next Door, and it's his holly sprigs. It's part of his Christmas collection for this year, and it's a set of 4 dies. But the really good thing is they are in pairs, a proper mirror image of each other. Let me put that behind there. Oops. There we are. So you can see they're a proper mirror image, and that's really important for this technique. You need a die that's either symmetrical or a matching die that's a mirror image. Okay, and it's in 2 sizes. That's the large one, and then there's the smaller size. Okay, so really useful die set. So what we do for this is we use the back of the die to lay the foil down. Okay, so I've got here some green card, and I've got foil in various shades. This is a Couture Creations foil, but I've done this with other foils, and one of the ones I'm going to do in a minute is a Gemini foil. So I'm going to cut a piece of foil. Okay, let's do the big one. So I'm going to take my die. Now when I've done this, I've done it in pairs, but just as I'm demonstrating to make it clear, I'm just going to do them one at a time. So I'm just going to line my die up on my foil. Okay, I'm going to cut my foil down a bit so I don't waste too much. Might have enough left to do the small one in that foil. And the main reason for cutting the foil roughly to the same shape and size is to make it easier to stick everything down, because I do like to make sure nothing can move. Okay, so I'm going to put that down on my card, and I'm going to use some masking tape, because I know it copes with the heat quite well, to stick that in place. Okay, now I'm going to go there, and I'm going to come over here. So I'm sticking my die to my foil and then sticking my foil down on my card. And I'm just going to trim around that. Okay, so my die is with the cutting edge up. Okay, so I put the back side of the die against my foil and the cutting edge is up. So I'm going to bring over my GoPress and foil before I go any further. and show you how I've got that set up. Now, I don't see any reason you couldn't do this with the Spellbinders Glimmer. I don't know about the Gemini foil press. I don't know if you'll have the thickness. And I haven't got one to try it. So I've got on here, let me just tilt the camera on here. I've got on here a thin metal shim, and I've got two of them. This is the other one of the pair. Okay, they're a 0.5mm metal shim. Okay, you could use a thinner one. These are looking quite beaten up. A thinner one would look beaten up quicker, I think. But I've been using these for a long time. The fact they're looking quite beaten up really doesn't matter. So that goes on top of the metal shim, and that's really to make sure the back of that card, where it needs to put pressure and heat through to that die, gets it from the metal shim. The just base layer would give too much, and you'd end up with a mess. So then I put the other metal shim on top, and that protects my lid from getting scratched. And it also means I don't cut into my card shim. Now I'm using 4 layers of card shim. I've got 2 pieces of A4 card folded in half. Okay, and from trial and error, I find that works well for me with my die cutting machine, with my go press and foil. You may need to experiment with that. So I'm going to put that back on the base over there. I'm just going to slide it into the base, and I like my lid to stay down properly, so I'm just going to put something on here. It happens to be my little sidekick. That just keeps my lid down. Okay, a heavy book or something would do fine. So that's heating up. Okay, but there's no reason you couldn't do this on, say, some mirror card. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is maybe do some silver holly with a frosted edge. See what that looks like. So I've got a couple of different iridescent sparkly foils. I've got that one, which is a small sparkle, and I've got this one, which is kind of bigger dots. So I need to leave that for at least a couple of minutes to heat up. But don't rush it. You can't really leave it for too long. So you don't need, there's no precise timings on this. There's plenty of time really. And as you find, if I do something else while I'm waiting, I'm not tempted to try and take it off too soon. I'm just going to straighten out this roll of foil. Right, and I can use one of the little dies for this because I've only got a little off-cut card. This is a great way of using off-cuts of card. Get some more tape. Doesn't need very big pieces of tape, it just needs some tape to make sure nothing moves. Because when I've got the metal shim on, the card and the foil and the die will all slide around as I'm moving my go press and foil on and off the base. So sometimes I've had perfect foiling, except for the bit where the die moved off the edge of the card or off the edge of the foil. So now I tape everything down, because that just makes life easier. Okay, so in a minute that can go on to warm up. I need to have a bit of a tidy. Oh, actually, while I'm waiting, let me set this one up as well. So I'm going to do, these are just so you can see the different things you can use. So this one is a Gemini multi-surface foil. The colour is holly, and it's a darker green than I've seen from any of the other suppliers. Now the reason I discovered this technique many years ago now was because there are hardly any foiling plates available. So it's, you know, you were then had to experiment with whatever you had to see if you could foil something from it. I'm just using some off cuts of card for my bits box to experiment. Yeah, right. Put that in there as well. Right, so I'm going to put my foil out of the way. And my big scissors, my tape. Okay, so that's been heating nicely. So let's roll it through. And I'm using my Big Shot Plus, but whatever die cutting machine you use with your foiling machine, that's fine. Because my metal shims, I've got all those lumps and bumps in them, what I do now is I just, quite briefly, I lift up the top metal shim and I just move this, quite often I turn it around, put it back. I don't actually take it off so it doesn't go cold. And the go press and foil is just bringing itself back up to its optimum temperature. There, so take the top metal shim off. Yeah. Then I'm going to take that off, and then I'm going to put both of these here so that they can be warming up while we look at this one. Zoom the camera in a bit. Right. There we go. So here's my foiled piece. So let's take the tape off and see what's happened. Now be aware the tape gets die cut, so you end up some odd bits you have to get out with a pokey tool. Get that one stuck to my finger. There. There, are. So make sure you get rid of any bits of tape from the die. And I'm going to peel back the foil. And there's my foiling. Now it looks a bit messy in places, but it really doesn't matter because all the messiness is outside of the bit I'm going to cut out. Okay, if you're thinking, if I foiled that, I wouldn't want to use that as foiling on as it is. No, and it looks too kind of blocky and lumpy. Okay, but now I'm going to cut it out. So this is the die that I used to foil. Okay, you can see it fits over the top of the foiling. But if I try and turn that over to cut out, everything's in the wrong place. That doesn't work. So what I need to do is take the other die from the pair and put that over the top, and that matches. Okay, so I'm going to tape that down in the right place and then die cut it. I can use my bits of tape that I've got already, so I'm going to, it kind of wants to sit where you've foiled because you've kind of made a dent in the card. We have made a dent in the card, there's pressure. But there's a little bit of movement and it's worth taking some time, and I usually stick it down and then I sort of turn it round and I pick it up and I just check that I haven't kind of moved it as I'm putting the tape on even. And that sometimes happens. I'm just going to use that piece of tape and secure it back down. There. So now my die, again, you see there my die is completely covering, other than the odd bits of foiling that happened around the edge, but all the foiling from the pressure of the die is now covered up with the die cutting side down. And people sometimes ask me, well, this is a piece of copier paper, and it's just that I'm using a magnetic based plate, and I find it makes it easier for picking up the dies if I can just lift the corner of the paper. So that's all that is. There we are. Let me get my, let me zoom in on that. So there we are. We've got our green card. Some nice pale green foiling around the edge. Yeah, I really like that effect. And where you've got the berries and things, you can still, you know, put some something like Nouveau drops on those to make them red if you want to. Okay, or if you've done it on white card, you can use a gel pen and colour in some red dots of the berries. So that's that one. And let's have a look at the next pair. So, oops. are. So I'm going to take this off now. And I'm going to roll it through my die cutting machine. Let's just move these a bit. That's it. Just gone green again. Okay, so these are both onto mirror card. Zoom camera in. There we are. So I've got my sparkly onto silver mirror card and my dark green onto my light green mirror card. Camera up just a touch. That's it. Okay, so let's take the tape off and see what we've got. And you can, if you want to, do this onto some pattern paper. So the die comes off, but I need to take the bits of tape out in a moment. So there is my iridescent foiling around the edge of my mirror card. We'll see what that looks die cut in a moment, how that looks die cut in a minute. And that was the die I used. And this is onto green mirror card. And that was the Gemini multi-surface foil. You can use the papercraft foil, but with the Go Press and foil, because it works at a higher temperature than the Gemini, I find I tend to get lots of overfoiling if I'm not very careful when I use the papercraft foil. So this is the multi-surface foil. So there we are. Okay, so before I die cut these, I just want to set one more up, and I'm going to do it on some pattern paper, just to show that you can do that, because people don't always realise. And I think I'm just going to use, the light green foil. Actually, I've already got a piece of that cut here somewhere. There we are. There we are. And I haven't got enough. No, because I need to use the big die. So let's cut some more of that. Let me use the other one. That's it. again, I'm just roughly trimming around to make it easier for taping down, because otherwise I need really big pieces of tape to get across the die and the foil. Will that fit there? Yes, that will fit there. There we are. Let's tape this down. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this onto my Go Pressing foil. I'm going to turn the camera so you can see what I'm doing. That's it. So my metal plate is on there. Pop that on. Put that over the top. Shims go in. Close the lid. Oh. I'm weighting the lid. That is just to make sure that everything really gets heated properly, because where the lid comes up, things can move away from the hot plate at the bottom. Okay, so that just keeps everything in place. As I say, a good book would do just as well. So now I need to cut out my green and my silver. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get the bits of tape out of my die, because I've got little bits of yellow tape. In my die, see, here and here. Yeah, so I'm going to sort those out. So I'm just going to get them out with the pokey tool. And they always seem to end up sticking to my fingers. And stick them to my waste foil so that I don't have any problems with them. A little tiny bit there. And the other one. I know this isn't very interesting to watch. But it's one of those things you have to do, because otherwise, if you've got a bit of foil where your bit of tape where your foil will be, when you die cut, it'll actually spoil the shininess of the foil. You'll actually see kind of the texture of the tape will show in the foil. Bits in there. Can't see it. Right. So I would have used that one for that one, and that one to foil that one. So to die cut, I need to swap them over. So turn it over to cutting side down, and they match. And you could do this with lots of different die sets that you've got mirrored pairs, or where the die is symmetrical. So long as there's the open areas, then you can do that. If it hasn't got open areas, you might as well just die cut some mirror card. You're not going to get two different colours showing, you just get solid foiling, and probably not very good solid foiling, to be honest. Okay, so let's die cut those. wrong way. There we go. Okay. Just use the paper to help lift the dye off the magnets. And this is just a plastic filing pocket. Just find that helps reduce some wear on my cutting plate. And there's the green one. I shall put this on there. Okay, so now I've got my dark green foil around the edges and the foil like pale green mirror card. Okay, and let's have a look at this one. This one's much more subtle, I think. I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to use a piece of tape. Just tape that onto my piece of card here. Okay. Let's put the camera straight and re-pop it. So this one is quite subtle because it's turned my plain mirror card in many places into just a very subtle iridescent mirror card. Not sure how well that one showed up. That's as zoomed as I get. So yeah, it's just a very subtle effect rather than the plain silver at the edge. And on the stem there, you can see it there. You've got the pattern from the iridescent. So there, something to experiment with. Yeah, one of the ones I have liked doing over the years is something like a rose gold foil on silver. That looks nice. That one worked really well. So there we are. So there's the silver. So that's had lots of time to heat now. So let me have a tidy. And we can roll that one through. around. There we are. Okay, so let's see what this one's done. So there. You can see that's foiled really nicely onto that pattern paper. Just going to get the bits of tape out of my die. Okay, and in fact it's the other die that I need. So it's this one. I've got a bit of card in there. Right, so I foiled with this one. That's the one I foiled with it cutting side up. If I turn it over to cut, the pattern doesn't match. Right, everything goes the wrong way. So I use the other die and fit that over the top. I'll tape it down. And I'm going to pick it up and turn it round and make sure I really have got it in the right place. Yes, I'm happy with that. So it matches perfectly. I know as I'm picking it up there, this is flapping so you can see a bit of foil, but when it's all laid flat, you shouldn't be able to see any foiling under the die if it's in the right place. Okay, I'm going to die cut that. Just going to make sure that didn't move then. No, that's fine. And there. I'll take it down again. There. So there we have this. There we are. So you can see I've got my pattern paper with my foiled edge. Okay, so it's a lovely way of adding some foiling in without needing a separate foiling die. And I know I've been looking for a die that cuts holly sprigs like this for a few years. I keep thinking, oh, I could do it for holly sprig, and finding I hadn't really got anything like this. So I love this, and the fact, I say that it's been made as a mirrored pair, which means I can foil it as well. So I'm really happy with it. Okay, thank you for watching.